You survive an 8-meeting day, right? You finally drag yourself home, and what do you actually do? You do not collapse on the couch.
No, you definitely don't. You log right into your student portal.
Exactly. You log in to confront your English class notes. And I mean, that level of sheer endurance is exactly why we are here today.
It is a massive cognitive load, honestly. I mean, most people's brains are completely fried after meeting number 4.
Let alone meeting number 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to today's deep dive on AcadFM. This is brought to you by AcademiaBSB, which is your online English school with a totally unique approach to communication skills.
We are your trusty Academia BSB teachers. And just for the record, today is Friday, April 10th, 2026.
And this specific deep dive is engineered for one person. You, Lilian. Yes, Mrs. Queiroz, we are talking directly to you.
We're dissecting your latest class notes and the meeting transcriptions from your April 7th class.
Right, because we are navigating the English Conversations course, focusing entirely on the skills you need to solidify your standing in the B1 level of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages.
Which is a big deal.
It is a very big deal. It means we aren't just, trying to order a coffee in English anymore. We are analyzing how to express complex, high-stakes professional ideas.
Right, the real corporate communication.
Exactly. And speaking of high stakes, Lilian, I have my corporate LinkedIn warrior hat firmly on right now, and I just have to say, I feel your pain regarding last Tuesday.
It was a rough one.
Oh, absolutely brutal. I read the verbatim quotes from your transcription. You literally said, I worked all day long, and then immediately followed it with, I've just arrived. You
had literally just walked through the door before the class started.
Surviving what you accurately described in class as a plethora of meetings. Of variable duration.
A plethora. That is a great word.
It really is. Some of those meetings were probably short and pointless, and others were, long and agonizing.
But the fascinating part of your transcript, at least to me, is how you processed all that exhaustion.
Right.
You didn't just complain. You used a very specific set of vocabulary to frame the day. You noted that despite the grind, the day was still productive.
Yeah, which is impressive.
You said you still felt energetic, and you were determined to prevail and succeed.
I love that resilience so much. My LinkedIn feed is full of people romanticizing the grind, but doing it in your second language. That is next level. But let's look at the mechanics of the words you needed to explain your evening.
The phrasal verbs.
Yes, specifically, you used a fantastic phrasal verb, heat up. You explained to the class that you didn't have the time or the energy to cook dinner from scratch.
Who does after 8 meetings?
Literally nobody. The food was already in the fridge, so you just put it in the microwave, hit the buttons, pee, and you heated it up.
That is native level precision right there. You heat up something that is already cooked.
Exactly.
And it stands in direct contrast to another phrasal verb from your notes, which is give up.
Oh, yeah, very different.
Right, because to give up is to surrender, or just abandon the task entirely. Heating up a quick dinner so you can power through an English class is, well, it's the exact opposite of giving up.
But pushing through that kind of mental fatigue is dangerous, Lilian, because when you are that tired, your brain naturally defaults to its native programming.
And that is when you step right into the trap.
The false cognates trap, the Portuguese logic trap.
Exactly. They will get you every time.
Imagine your boss promises you a promotion, right? But then gives it to someone else. You are obviously frustrated. In your native language, you might feel tempted to use a word that sounds like deception.
Oh, boy.
Do not do this in a corporate environment.
Yeah, if you accuse your boss of deception in English, you are accusing them of malicious, calculated fraud.
A literal crime.
Exactly. Deception means someone actively plotted to trick you or lie to you. It's a very heavy accusation.
If you just feel let down because, expectations weren't met, the word you want is disappointed. You are disappointed by the outcome.
Right, you are only a victim of deception if your boss literally forged a document to steal from you.
Exactly. And we also see this mental trap with the words pretend versus intend.
They look so similar on paper, but their functions are completely opposed.
Right.
If you intend to do something, you have a solid plan. You intend to succeed. But to pretend is to fake it. Children pretend to be astronauts.
Less, of course, we are talking about the classic fake-it-till-you-make-it corporate culture, where half the executives are just pretending to understand the KPIs.
Fair point, fair point.
But to understand those KPIs, we actually need to look at the structural vocabulary from your medical and pharmaceutical role exercises. We have the employer and the employee.
The mechanics here are all in the suffixes. The ER ending points to the creator or the provider, right, the company.
Uh-huh.
And the EE ending points to the receiver of the job, the worker.
Makes sense. Then we have headquarters versus branch.
Right. So headquarters is the central nervous system of the company, the main office. A branch is the smaller regional extension.
Let me offer a slightly more realistic corporate translation for you here, Lilian.
Oh, here we go.
The headquarters is the ivory tower where executives invent entirely unrealistic metrics, and the branch is the place where the exhausted employees actually have to execute them while running on zero sleep.
A cynical yet highly accurate operational definition. I'll allow it.
Thank you.
But it brings up an important point. When you are running on zero sleep at the branch, trying to meet those headquarters metrics, your mouth gets lazy.
It really does.
And that is exactly where we saw some specific phonetic hurdles in your transcript. Let's take a quick pedagogical break to look at this.
Yes, the mechanics of pronunciation. When we are tired, we drop the crucial sounds. First up is the tion suffix, words like conversation, interruption, regulation.
Brazilian Portuguese speakers often want to end that with a hard on sound, like conversation.
Right.
But it's actually a soft, rushing shon sound. Conversation, interruption.
And then there is the ultimate phonetic battle for the tired corporate worker. Final consonants, specifically M versus N.
This is a physical, mechanical rule. In English, ending a word with N means your tongue must physically touch the roof of your mouth right behind your front teeth.
Like the word man.
Exactly, or pan, like the pressure cooker. Pan, the tongue goes up.
But if a word ends in M, your lips must completely close, like ma'am. Or the word gym, which we know you visit frequently, Lilian. Gym, lips shut tight.
Because if you don't close your lips, gym, the place where you lift weights becomes gin, the clear alcohol.
And honestly, confessing to your boss that you spend 2 hours every morning at the gym instead of the gym might trigger a very awkward HR conversation.
Yeah, definitely not the kind of meeting you want on your schedule.
Hey, I don't judge how people cope with 8 meetings, but let's look at a company that is definitely operating at peak performance, navigating these massive headquarters to branch structures.
Oh, absolutely. Let's get into the AcadFM energy data.
Yes. From your notes, we have some phenomenal data on the energy sector, which is your absolute favorite topic.
It really is. And AXIA Energia is a perfect example of corporate evolution. Electrobras is now completely rebranded as AXIA Energia, and their operational scale is just staggering.
Give us the numbers.
They currently boast a 100% renewable portfolio.
100%. That's not just a nice PR statement. The physical infrastructure behind that must be massive.
It's huge. It's 81 plants in total.
Wow.
47 hydro, 33 wind, and 1 solar. But here is the number that really matters for our discussion about structure. In 2025, they made an 18% increase in investment, totaling 9.6 billion raise.
9.6 billion. That is serious capital.
And out of that, 6.1 billion was earmarked specifically for transmission.
Okay, let me stop you there because that is the crucial why of this data. Why pour 6.1 billion into transmission instead of just, building more wind turbines?
Because generating clean energy is entirely useless if it just sits at the plant.
Right.
Transmission lines are the backbone. They take the power from the source and deliver it to the grid where it can actually be used by people.
Which is exactly like your English vocabulary, Lilian.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
Think about it. Learning all these words, like the 81 power plants, is your generation. But if you don't have the transmission lines, which are the grammar and the pronunciation, that vocabulary is just stuck in your head.
You can't deliver to your colleagues.
Exactly. And to keep those linguistic transmission lines clear, let's look at the specific energy sector pronunciation from your past class notes. Words like asset, management, responsible.
Notice where the stress falls on those words.
Right, and transmission itself, along with title and incredible. And we have to mention the joke from your transcript regarding the words curse and course.
Oh, yeah. You have to clearly distinguish those two. A course is the English conversations course you were taking at AcademiaBSB to advance your career.
Correct.
A curse is a dark magic spell that ruins your life.
Although looking at English grammar rules, sometimes they feel like the exact same thing.
They really do sometimes. But to avoid the curse, you just need the physical tricks, like the word rich versus reach.
That's a classic one.
For rich, meaning wealthy, you pull the R hard and keep the vowel sharp and short, rich. If you relax and stretch the vowel, it becomes reach, like extending your arm.
We also saw the word cooked. Past tense verbs can be such a trap. Cooked ends with a hard K and D sound slammed together. Cooked.
Yeah, it is never pronounced with two syllables like cooked.
Never. And finally, words ending in L, like mile. This is fascinating because native Portuguese speakers naturally transform that final L into an ow sound in the back of the throat.
Right, so mile sounds a bit like meow.
Exactly. You have to consciously push the tip of your tongue up to the roof of your mouth to hit that L, mile.
So we have the vocabulary, we have the pronunciation, but what happens when the transmission line gets cut? What happens when you are in the middle of a presentation and a bottleneck occurs?
You mean an interruption?
Exactly.
This is the reality of modern corporate life. You are presenting, and someone's phone rings, or the Zoom connection drops. Your notes highlight the target phrases to manage this chaos. I'm back, let's move on, and sorry for the interruption.
The key is how you use them. It's really about maintaining authority in the room.
Let's demonstrate this. You start explaining another AXIA stat, and I will be the highly distracted executive who derails the meeting.
Sounds good. So, looking at AXIA Energy's market expansion, they have successfully managed to...
Oh, hold on. My LinkedIn is blowing up. Someone just endorsed me for synergy optimization. I have to reply to this immediately. Give me 5 seconds.
Sure, take your time.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. Let's move on.
See what happened there. The phrases are snappy. You didn't over-apologize.
Right. I didn't say, oh, I'm so sorry.
Exactly. You acknowledged the pause, took control of the room, and immediately redirected the momentum back to the topic.
But getting back on track often means rescheduling or referencing timelines, which means we need to take another quick pedagogical break to talk about dates and numbers.
Right, because keeping numbers straight is crucial.
Unit 94 of your grammar PDF covers this. If an interruption pushes your meeting to January 25th, you cannot just say January 25.
No, you must use the ordinal number, 25th. It requires that breathy TH sound at the end, placing the tongue slightly between the teeth.
And for years, like 2019, we split it, 2019, and fractions, like 1/4 is pronounced 1/4.
Precision in numbers prevents costly scheduling errors.
Speaking of numbers, let's get back to AXIA's growth because you had more stats there.
I do. Their commercialization area expanded to 875 clients. That's a 17% growth.
17%.
Yeah, meaning they are actively leading the aggregate demand response in Brazil right now.
That kind of growth doesn't happen without a flawless operational system. And in English, your operational system is the continuous tenses. This is the core of your grammar notes from class.
The present continuous versus the past continuous.
Right.
Present continuous is happening in this exact moment. I am studying. Past continuous is an action that was ongoing in the past. I was studying.
The mechanics of this rely on what your class called the barrel rule, or sometimes the marriage rule. It dictates the transformation of the to-be verbs. Am, is, and are in the present become was and were in the past.
If you are married to the subject, you follow the rule. I was, he was, they were.
And to ask questions, we use the rocket rule. You invert the subject and the verb. The statement, you are beautiful, launches the verb to the front to become the question, are you beautiful?
Which brings us to a slight structural mistake from your class, Lilian.
Oh, yes, let's look at this.
When asked a continuous question, you answered, no, I don't going.
Ouch.
Yeah, the error there is mixing two completely different operational systems. You combine the auxiliary don't with the continuous going.
Right. For continuous action, we must use the to-be verb. The correct structurally sound response is, no, I am not going.
Finally, we have the octopus rule for WH questions. What, who, when, where.
They are called tentacles because they reach out for specific pieces of information. What for things, who for people, when for time, where for locations.
So we have the affirmative, she is working. The negative, she is not working. The interrogative rocket rule, is she working? And the interrogative octopus rule, where is she working?
I know the octopus rule sounds like something from a kindergarten class, Lilian.
It really does.
But think about it in a corporate context. You are interrogating a hostile vendor who missed a massive deadline. If you forget your when and where tentacles, you lose your leverage.
That's a great point.
Mastering these grammar rules is exactly like mastering corporate compliance. It feels rigid and annoying at first, but once you automate it in your brain, you don't get audited by your boss.
Or your English teacher.
Exactly.
When the structure is automatic, the communication flows. But, we also have to look at what happens when institutional structures fail completely.
This brings us to the most intense part of your notes, the reading segment concerning the Brumadinho disaster.
Before we unpack this, we must explicitly state a disclaimer.
Yes, absolutely.
The text we are analyzing contains politically charged elements regarding legislation, corporate negligence, and environmental policy. As hosts, we are remaining strictly neutral here.
We are not taking sides.
Exactly. We are not endorsing either viewpoint. We are impartially conveying the original author's ideas to help you understand the complex English used in the source material.
We are analyzing the arguments to understand the vocabulary, and the text presents a profound debate about the root cause of the tragedy. Anthropologist Andrea Azzurri frames the dam collapse not as an unpredictable natural disaster, but as a glaring political institutional failure.
Her argument centers on a bureaucratic bottleneck. Following the earlier disaster in Mariana, a popular initiative bill was proposed, the Sea of Mud Nevermore Bill, which was designed to enforce strict safety protocols.
But according to Azzurri, it was replaced by a much vaguer bill. A bill that allegedly prioritized economic criteria and fast-tracking licenses over environmental safety.
It is the ultimate tragic example of what we discussed earlier. The headquarters prioritizing growth metrics, while the physical reality at the branch level is dangerously unstable.
That is the institutional argument, but the text also cites environmental defender Maria del Chiricas, who points to a fundamentally different failure, the engineering itself.
She argues that these specific upstream dams are inherently flawed. She actually calls them time bombs.
Time bombs. That is powerful vocabulary.
Rika's point is that no amount of paperwork or legislation matters if the physical structure holding back the waste is cheap and outdated.
Right.
She highlights the necessity of investing in alternative, safer technologies, like dry containment, rather than storing massive amounts of liquid waste above communities.
It's a heavy debate. Policy failure versus engineering failure, and the vocabulary required to discuss it is highly specific. But let's do our final pedagogical break here, because the text uses 3 words that might translate very similarly in Portuguese, but represent vastly different things in English: mud, sludge, and tailings.
Mud is relatively harmless. It is just earth and water. You wash mud off your shoes after a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Sludge, however, implies toxicity. It is a thick, dangerous mixture that can include earth, water, concrete, and industrial chemicals.
But the exact term used for the disaster is a tailings dam. Tailings are the highly specific waste materials left over after the valuable minerals have been extracted from the ore during mining.
We also must clarify the word missing. The text reports that 280 people were missing. In an emergency context, this means they could not be found. They were physically lost in the tragedy.
You cannot confuse this emergency definition with the emotional feeling of missing someone. When you feel nostalgia or sadness because a friend moved away, you miss them. In the context of Brumadinho, missing describes a horrific physical absence. It is vital to separate the emotional definition from the emergency definition.
We have covered incredible ground today, Lilian. From the exhaustion of navigating 8 corporate meetings to the massive infrastructure of energy megaprojects, right down to the heavy, complex reading comprehension of environmental disasters.
Evolving within the B1 level of the CEFRL requires exactly this kind of multifaceted analysis, and we have to commend your dedication. Your time optimization is brilliant.
Absolutely. The transcript noted that you listened to the class audio 3 times while working out at the gym.
Not the gym, the gym.
The gym.
That is how you win, Lilian. You take a schedule packed with variable duration meetings, and you force linguistic immersion into your free time.
However, a quick reminder about the AcademiaBSB methodology.
Yes, my strict corporate teacher hat is back on. You are optimizing your time beautifully, but the methodology demands that you physically engage with the material.
You can't just listen.
Exactly. You still need to read the full Brumadinho text independently and answer the questions for your homework. You must put the pen to the paper to lock in the complex vocabulary.
To tie everything together today, we want to leave you with a final, provocative thought based on the reading material.
We spent a lot of time today talking about corporate bottlenecks, KPIs, and the massive investments made by companies like AXIA. But in the Brumadinho text, the anthropologist Andrea Azzurri states, mining has to be subjected to society, not the other way around.
It is a profound statement about priority.
So Lilian, as you navigate your own corporate week, dealing with spreadsheets, endless meetings, and performance metrics, ponder this. How does your specific sector balance the relentless pressure for economic growth with the absolute necessity of a social responsibility?
When the headquarters demands faster results, how do you ensure the human element doesn't become just another bottleneck to be bypassed?
It is the defining challenge of modern business.
It really is.
Yeah.
And being able to articulate those challenges is exactly why you're putting in the work. Because here at Academia BSB, our motto remains the same.
It is not only about the language.
It is all about communication.
Keep heating up those skills, Lilian, and don't let the corporate grind defeat you. See you in the next deep dive.